Is vegan food inherently expensive? Can we make delicious and nutritious vegan meals without spending a fortune? To find out, I'm going to take $36 and see how much vegan chili I can make. And this video was inspired by this tweet which I saw, and it's really more of a critique on our unjust food systems and not vegan food itself. But it did get me curious, how much vegan chili could $36 get me? So I went to a few sources to compare prices such as Walmart, Whole Foods, and Ralph's/Kroger, and I ended up buying everything at Ralph's since it seems like it's kind of in the middle price-wise, but obviously places like Walmart, Smart & Final, Aldi, and Grocery Outlet are going to be a lot cheaper, so take advantage of those kinds of budget-friendly places if you can. Now first, let's get some beans, and I wanted to take into account time as well as budget, since this is a big concern for a lot of busy folks too, so I went with canned beans, seen as they make this process a whole lot faster. Obviously, using dried beans is going to get you a ton more food, but they do take longer to cook, and in fact, a friend of mine went ahead and tested out how much vegan chili he could make with 36 bucks using dried beans and bulk spices. I'll link to his blog post in case you want to check that out. But for canned beans, you have a lot of options: pinto, black, kidney, or chili beans that are already seasoned. At Walmart, canned beans were pretty dang cheap at 78 cents a can. At Ralph's, it was 99 cents for pinto beans or $1.50 for chili beans. And at Whole Foods, they were priced pretty much the same. Eventually, I opted for 3 of these 2.5 pound cans of pinto beans, which cost $1.79 each, or $5.37 for all of them. Now for the meat, obviously if you go for things like Impossible or Beyond, that might break the bank if you're going for bulk on a budget, though they are cheaper at Walmart. But we're gonna go with good old trusty TVP. This bag at Ralph's cost me $6, but at Whole Foods it was a little bit cheaper, which I was surprised by. You can also totally just use some lentils, tofu, really whatever you want instead of TVP. Next, the fresh veggies. I went with onions, bell peppers, garlic, and jalapenos. For the most part, these were priced pretty close in Walmart and Ralph's, with Whole Foods being more expensive. At Ralph's, I got 3 jalapenos for 25 cents, 1 onion for $1, a head of garlic for 50 cents, and 3 bell peppers for $3, though I only used 2, so $2. For the canned tomatoes, I went with 2 cans each of diced and crushed. They cost $1.89 each for a total of $7.56 for all 4, but at Walmart they were much cheaper at 88 cents each. Whole Foods was more expensive in general for the canned tomatoes. For seasonings, you have a lot of options, but I opted for this chili powder from Ralph's, which costs $4, and this cumin for $2, though I only used $1.20 worth. Bulk spices are going to be cheaper, but this is what I'm working with. I'm also going to use $1.20 worth of cocoa powder and 50 cents worth of cinnamon, but that's optional. I also had to get my trusty chipotles in adobo for some needed smoke and spice. This jar cost me $2.50 at Ralph's, and it was cheaper at both Whole Foods and Walmart. Last was this veggie bouillon, which is pricey at $7.50, but I only used $1.20 worth of it, so it's an investment that I think is worth it. Making your own broth is cheaper, but time consuming, of course. So the total for everything, if my math is correct, is $33.68. Now let's see how much I can make with it, and it's worth noting that I had to do this in 2 batches on account of how much food we got, but this is super easy to make, so let's whip it up. Oh, and by the way, my blog got a big update. You can now print recipes even. The full recipe for this chili will be there, and if you've made any of my recipes, please leave a review, as I'm basically starting from scratch with the comments and ratings. Thank you for your support, and now let's make some chili. And we're going to start by peeling our garlic, and since I'm doing a whole head, I'm going to try this trick I saw from Chef John, who saw it from Martha Stewart, where we basically smash a head of garlic and then put it in a metal bowl and use another bowl on top and then just shake the bejesus out of it. And yeah, that totally worked like a charm. Nice job, Chef John and Martha Stewart. I'm going to use my garlic press since I don't feel like mincing these by hand, and there's our garlic. And next I'm going to dice up the bell peppers and jalapenos. I'm also taking out the guts and seeds from the peppers as well. And it's worth noting for the second batch, I'm not using any onions or jalapenos on account of my wife having a bit of a sensitivity to them, but you add whatever peppers and onions you like. Speaking of which, I'm going to dice up an onion for the first batch, and yes, I know my knife needs to be sharpened, but I'm lazy. And also, don't worry, I'm actually taking my time and being super careful. And now that our veggies are prepped, let's make our veggie broth. And here's a neat little trick that makes mixing up this bouillon paste with the water. Just add a little bit of water, like a half cup, and all the bouillon that you need. And then we're going to mix that up like so. It's way faster and less messy. And then we're just going to add in the rest of the water and we're good to go. To a Dutch oven or large heavy bottom pot, I'm going to add a bit of oil. Oh, I'm not including oil, salt, or pepper in the prices because that seems to be the standard. But let's get that oil heated up, and then we're going to add in our onions and peppers, stir those around to coat, add a little salt after a couple minutes, and just cook those down until they soften up and the onions get a little translucent, about 6 to 8 minutes. Next, let's dump in our garlic and all of our seasonings, or should I say most, as I really was just kind of winging it and developing this recipe on the fly. But we're going to add in our can of diced tomatoes and crushed tomatoes, and we're going to stir those around as well. And this is where I decided I was going to add in some cocoa powder, and if you've never tried cocoa powder or chocolate in your chili, I highly suggest trying it out. It just adds a nice, deep, rich, dark layer to the chili. After that, let's toss in our chipotles and adobo, which is going to add some much needed smokiness and spice. And feel free to add in some cayenne for more heat if you like, but we're going to stir that around. And now we're going to add in our TVP, and we don't need to rehydrate the TVP like we usually do since the chili is going to rehydrate it. And I also realized I probably should have added in the broth before the TVP, but it wasn't a big deal doing it afterwards either. Now we just want to bring this up to a light boil or a heavy simmer, and I'm also going to add in some cinnamon, which, like the cocoa powder, is going to add some nice depth. After that, we just need to go ahead and adjust the seasonings to taste as we should. Then I'm going to dump in the beans, which I've partially drained but not completely. I didn't want to add too much liquid to the chili, but use as much bean juice as you like. Also, if your canned beans are salted, keep that in mind as you season beforehand. Now at this point, you just want to simmer and reduce and season to taste. I simmered for about 30 minutes, I would say. It's hard to judge how long this all took because I was filming and I had to cook it in 2 batches and whatnot. But I'd say that, it probably takes about an hour from start to finish, less if you're a fast chopper. And you can even skip the veggies. I made a quick version of this with just broth, beans, TVP, tomatoes, and seasoning, and it was fantastic. And it only took about 15 minutes to whip up. But now the big question is, how much did we make? Well, this is what it looks like. And from my calculations, each of those big deli containers is 4 servings and the smaller one is 2. So I made about 30 servings. This ladle is about 1 cup. And for reference, here's 1 cup of chili and then here's 2 cups. I would say I usually eat about 1.5 cups of this stuff. Speaking of which, it's time to eat, and I've made a lot of vegan chili, and this is by far my favorite. Everything just works so harmoniously together, and all the flavors and spices just meld perfectly. And this is some really filling, hearty chili, and I gotta say, with the recent weather, it's been super comforting and hitting the proverbial spot. Now, while I do enjoy this chili on its own, I also like topping it with all the fixins, and even though I busted out the vegan sour cream and vegan cheese, which are not exactly budget friendly, I gotta say I think I enjoyed the toppings like jalapenos, pickled onions, or peppers, and the oyster crackers way more. And the good news is those are way more budget friendly, and in my book, it's mandatory to eat chili with these little peppers, so definitely get yourself some of these. And if you make this much, you're going to want to freeze your chili, so just add it to a freezer-safe container or bag like I am here, and spread it out like so, and it's going to lay flat, and you can stack bags of chili in your freezer for the future. I'd say within 4 to 6 months or so. But as you can see, eating vegan food can be delicious, nutritious, cheap, and easy, so I really do think y'all should give this a go, and if you want to see how to save money on vegan meat like Beyond and Impossible, check out this video right here, and until then, I'll see you all next time.